Okay, we're going to be solving ax squared plus bx plus c. Actually, we're going to be factoring that. I'm sorry. We're going to be factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, in the previous lesson, what you learned was how to factor x squared plus bx plus c. Now, you can see the difference is this a that's right here in the front of the x. So that's going to change things up a little bit. And so there's several types of this equation that we're going to be factoring. The first one is going to be where there's a plus here and a plus here. Okay, there are certain signals that these signs will transmit to you if you get used to it. Let's do the first one. Alright, what a plus sign tells you when you got a product is that when you multiplied a plus times a plus, like positive 2 times positive 2, and you get positive 4. Or you could have multiplied a negative times a negative, and that would look like this: negative 2 times negative 2, and you get positive 4. So there's two ways to get a positive: a negative times a negative, or a positive times a positive. Now, once you know that information, you go look at the one over here in the middle. If it's a plus, then that tells you that what you used was a plus. Okay? So we've decided now that this is what we're using. I'll review it for you. If you have a plus here, then it tells you you either did a plus plus or a minus minus. When you look at the term in the middle, the sign there tells you it's a plus, so that means that you used a plus plus over here. Alright, now let's see what you do. You take the a, you multiply it by the 3. That gives you 6. Now what we want are factors of 6 that add up to 5. So we go 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6. Which one of those adds up to 5? Yes, it's the 2 and the 3. So once you've decided which factors you're going to use, then you rewrite the problem. You write 2x squared, and then you take the 2 and the 3 and you split it with this x area. So now this 5x is now made up of a 2x and a 3x. So we put plus 2x plus 3x plus 3. See, it's the same problem that we had up here. 2x squared is the same. 3 is the same, except we split the 5x up into 2x and 3x. So now, we group them together. We've got this one and this pair. So we go, what do these have in common? Is a 2x. And if we factor a 2x out of this, we're left with x. And if we factor a 2x out of this, we're left with 1. Then over here, what do they have in common? Yes, they have a 3. So we put 3 times, and when you divide this by 3, you get x. When you divide this by 3, you get 1. So you notice we've got an x plus 1 here and an x plus 1 here. So now what we can do is we can take the 2x plus 3, put it in parentheses, and then we multiply it by x plus 1. And you factored this exercise up here at the top. Okay? So that's how we go about it. Let's try another one. Okay, we've got 7x squared plus 29x plus 4. Remember, this tells you that it's plus plus or minus minus. We look over here and this tells you it's going to be plus plus because of the plus sign here. So now we go 7 times 4 is 28. And we want factors of 28 that add up to 29. So we go 1 times 28 and we check. 1 and 28 add up to 29. So we've already got our answer right there. Alright, so now we go 7x squared. And it doesn't matter if you put the 1 first or the 28 first. You'll come up with the same answer. Plus 1x plus 28x plus 4. And now we look at this. What do they have in common? They have an x in common. When you divide 7x squared by x, you get 7x. When you divide x by x, you get 1. when you divide 28, well, what do 28 and 4 have in common? 28 and 4 have the factor of 7 in no, excuse me, they have a 4 in common. Okay? Because 4 goes into 28 and 4 goes into 4. So 28 divided by 4 is 7x, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So you notice once again we've got 7x plus 1 here and 7x plus 1 here. This only works if you get the same thing in both locations, okay? So we get x here plus 4 times 7x plus 1. And if you were to multiply this out, this is what you would get. Alright, your turn. Pause the video, try this one, and then come back to me. Alright, so you know that it's a plus plus here, or a minus minus, and this tells you that it's going to be plus plus. We go 3 times 18, and that gives us 54. And we want factors of 54 that add up to 15. So we got 54 and 1, 27 and 2, 18 and 3, 9 and 6. Oh, look at there, 9 and 6 add up to 15. So now we go, did you get that? I hope you did, because that's the foundation of the problem there. So now we rewrite the problem, 3x squared plus 9x plus 6x plus 18. And we group them together, this pair and this pair. What do these have in common? There's a 3 goes into 3 and 3 goes into 9, so a 3 in common. And there's an x squared here and an x there, so they have an x in common. When you divide 3x squared by 3x, you're left with x. When you divide 9x by 3x, you're left with 3. Alright, so now we've got over here, what do they have in common? 6 goes into both 6 and 18, so it'll be 6. When you divide 6x by 6, you get x. When you divide 18 by 6, you get 3. And so now we've got 3x plus 6 times x plus 3. Alright. This time it's going to be a little bit different, because you notice we got a minus sign right here. How do you get a minus, okay, when it, as a product result of a multiplication? Well, if you multiply 2 times 3, you're going to get 6, positive 6. If you multiply negative 2 times negative 3, you're going to get positive 6. The only way to do it is if one of them is negative. Okay, or it could be 2 times negative 3 equals 6. So one of the multipliers has to be negative. So over here we know we're going to have a positive and a negative. We don't know which one's which, but we know it's going to be positive and negative to get the 8 here. Now we come over here and look at this number, and it tells us that when we get these numbers, the bigger of the numbers will be positive. Alright, let's see if I can make sense out of that for you. Same thing, we go 6 times 8 and we get 48. Now what we want are factors of 48 that have a difference of 22. So we try 48 and 1, no. 24 and 2, difference of 22, so that's this one right here. And we rewrite the problem, 6x squared. Alright, now I told you that this one, this positive sign, tells you that the bigger of these two numbers is going to be positive. So the bigger of the two numbers is 24, so we write positive 24x and negative 2x minus 8. Same thing, the process that we did before. What do these have in common? They have a 6 and an x in common. When you divide 6x squared by 6x, you get x. When you divide 24x by 6x, you get 4. And then over here, what do they have in common? Well, negative 2 will go into both of them, so we pull out a negative 2. We divide negative 2x by negative 2 and you get x. Negative 8 divided by negative 2 gives you positive 4. And then we see we've got 6x minus 2 times x plus 4. Okay, you see? Alright, this time we've got plus. This tells you plus plus or minus minus. This tells you that it's going to be minus minus. Okay, so let's try this one. Same process. We go 3 times 20 gives us 60. And we want factors of 60 that add up to 17. Okay? Factors of 60 that add up to 17. So we've got 60 and 1, 30 and 2, 20 and 3, 15 and 4, 12 and 5. Oh, there we go, 12 and 5. So now we rewrite the problem. 3x squared. Alright, remember, I told you this one was going to be minus minus because it's either plus plus or minus minus, and this tells you that it's going to be minus minus. So it's minus 12x minus 5x plus 20. What do these have in common? A 3 and an x. When we divide 3x squared by 3x, we get x. When we divide negative 12x by 3x, we get negative 4. We come over here. What do they have in common? They have a 5 in common. Okay, but what we want to do is we want to have this say negative 4 right here. So we've got to see, because we've got to have it the same as this one. So we're going to divide by negative 5. Negative 5x divided by negative 5 gives us x. 20 divided by negative 5 gives us negative 4. That leaves us with 3x minus 5 times x minus 4. Alright, now we've got a minus here, which tells it it's going to be plus minus or minus plus. It's got to be one of those. This tells you that the bigger of the numbers will be negative. Okay, so let's try again. 2 times 1 gives us 2. We want factors of 2. There's only 2 factors of 2 that have a difference of 1. Well, lo and behold, it's 2 and 1. This tells you that the bigger number, 2, is going to be negative. So we go 2n squared minus 2n plus 1n minus 1. Then we see what they have in common. 2n. 2n squared divided by 2n gives us n. Negative 2n divided by 2n gives us minus 1. And then over here we've got n minus 1. And what do we have in front of this right here? Yes, it's a 1. So we go 2n plus 1 times n minus 1. Okay, this one has a plus plus or a minus minus because of that sign right there. This sign tells you that it's going to be minus minus. So we go 10 times 30 and we get 300. And we want factors of 300 that add up to 35. So we come over here and we go 1 times 300, 2 times 150, 3 times 100, 4 times 75, 5 times 60, 6 times 50, 10 times 30, 15 times 20, and there it is, 15 times 20, they add up to 35. So we come over here and we go 10y squared minus 35y. No, excuse me. We go 10y squared minus 15y minus 20y plus 30. Then we see what they have in common. A 10 and a 15 both have a 5 in common, and also a y here. So we divide 10y squared by 5y and we get 2y. 15y divided by 5y leaves us with negative 3. And then over here, you know you're going to get 2y minus 3. That's the only way it's going to work, so you know you got to get 2y minus 3. So what you can do is go ahead and write that here and say, alright, what do I have to divide 20 by to get 2y? Well, I can divide it by negative 10. And let's see if it works. Negative 20y divided by negative 10 leaves us with 2y. And 30 divided by negative 10 leaves us with negative 3. So that works out. So we've got 5y minus 10 times 2y minus 3.